They want our army tanks to be all electric so that when we go into enemy territory, blasting the hell out of everybody, we do it in an environmentally friendly way. They want all electric army tanks now. Think of this. Think. So they want to have an army tank that's electric. You can't get it recharged. It doesn't go far enough. It doesn't go strong enough. But they want to have electric. So that we go into enemy territory. We will blast the shit out of everybody, but at least we will go in with environmentally nice equipment.
Now, if that sounded deranged, there are two good reasons for why it sounded so crazy. One is that he's out of his GD mind. Why is he talking like this? I don't know. The other is that it's not true at all. It might sound crazy because it is crazy and it's not actually happening. And we'll get to the fact checking in just a sec, but this has become like a constant for Trump. We just showed you two examples there, but at a Detroit rally, he was saying that's the difference between in a fight with the enemy, winning and losing. They want to go in a clean environmental way as we bomb the ass out of a country. Okay, they don't go far, this Fox News interview, and they have to pull a wagon because the wagon, the battery is so big that the army tanks will have a wagon like a child. He's pulling a wagon. They want to make our army tanks all electric, he said in Wisconsin in May, so that when we go into a foreign country, blazing hot, we're going in. We keep the environment and the air nice and clean. Now, how crazy is it? All that is crazy. I agree with you, Trump. For the first time, I agree with you. That's crazy. And it only exists in your addled mind. None of that is true. The wagon behind the tanks is literally based on nothing. There's no tank, there's no wagon. It's not a thing that they're working on. It's not a thing that exists right now. This was already fact checked over a year ago by PolitiFact, as if that's gonna have any effect whatsoever. And all along the way since then, he just keeps saying it. No one in the military has any idea what he is talking about. And by that, I don't just mean where these details are coming from, since they're not referencing anything in the real world, but why is this a thing that is so much on his mind? Who is telling him that this is happening? He's been out of office for nearly 4 years. It's not like he's getting the briefs anymore. And so none of this is true. The closest thing is that for non-tanks, the military is working on eventually developing EVs. Like over the course of literally decades, they've been doing this and will be doing this into the future. So if you go to RAND, they say the Army plans to deploy fully electric non-tactical vehicles by 2027, hybrid tactical vehicles, not tanks, by 2035, more than a decade in the future, fully electric tactical vehicles, again, not tanks, by 2050, decades into the future. And so there are many very good reasons that they're choosing to do this. I'm not an expert on the military, which puts me on the same sort of footing as Trump, but I would say not having to rely on sometimes difficult supply chains of getting particular types of fuel to your vehicles in the field, when you can instead just charge them with electricity, which is universal across the world, would be kind of nice. And it's not specifically because they care about emissions in Afghanistan or whatever. In general, they are trying to be more efficient for a variety of reasons. And in general, we don't want the climate to be wrecked for reasons which I will get into. But there are very specific military reasons that we care about climate change. We'll get to that in a moment. But Adrienne, I don't know if you've seen these clips before, but it's like every week now he's telling these like fanciful tales.
It's wild. I really think that the only thing that exceeds Trump's ignorance is his willingness to just create fiction, fabrications. And it's amazing to me, because I do wonder, is he at the point where he actually believes these fictions, or is this something that he knows he's lying and he's just trying to pander to his base in creating this idea of a world that if the left were to control the United States in terms of the White House, that it would mean that they would have to lose everything from their big F-350 vehicles to their gas stoves. I really don't know, but it's wild. This person is incredibly just wild.
It's just utterly deranged. And Something happened, and it wasn't recent. It was not when Donald Trump came down the golden escalator or whatever. It was already there for him, in that there's a very significant portion of this country that just doesn't care at all what is true or not. They just don't care at all. You fact check this stuff, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter to them whether it's true or not. They like hearing about it. And it's not that their brains don't function. In some ways, they function very quickly and in a very agile fashion. And I have an example of that. So you brought up the F-350s. They're terrified of losing their F-350s or whatever because those trucks are amazing and all this stuff. But they also simultaneously believe that the Cybertruck is the best, coolest thing ever because that's Elon Musk and he's a good right winger. So you can't possibly have a badass electric vehicle, well, except for the Teslas and the Cybertruck, which is the coolest, toughest thing ever. I mean, it's not, it barely functions as a truck, but it's Elon Musk, so it's really cool. And look at it, it's stainless steel. But at the same time, they're only for wussies and no one would ever use. He literally will go back and forth in his speech, demonizing electric vehicles and then talking about Teslas and how great they are because he knows that right wingers love Elon Musk and love Tesla. It's amazing. But again, the reason I want to talk about this isn't just to give you the fact check. It's that there are national security implications of all this. The military has been warning us for literally decades about the security risk presented by climate change. And I want to go to a couple of examples of this. So this is from a few years back. This is a Defense Department Chief Sustainability Officer saying climate change is dramatically increasing the demand for military operations and at the same time impacting our readiness and our ability to meet those demands while imposing unsustainable costs on the department. So there, you're talking about the fact that the conditions caused by climate change, the worsening heat, the difficulty in doing agriculture, the loss of water, produces more military instability and requires more intervention by the United States and other militaries. So we're going to be involved in conflicts in the future that we otherwise would not be purely thanks to the effect of climate change. So that's sort of like abroad, the effect of it. But you don't have to go to abroad to see how climate change is hurting us, and not just in the future, but already. So Hurricane Florence dumped 36 inches of rain on North Carolina back in 2018. That flooded 3 Marine Corps installations, which cost taxpayers $3.6 billion. A few weeks later, Hurricane Michael ripped through Tyndall Air Force Base. That caused $4.7 billion in damage. Last year, leaders evacuated Travis Air Force Base in Northern California due to nearby raging wildfires. By the way, there was a report just earlier today about the fact that the severity and the frequency of wildfires has doubled since 2003. So our bases are already being devastated by some of the natural disasters that are inevitably being made worse by the fact that climate change is proceeding in the way that it is. But I want to go back even further. So this was reported by The Guardian back in 2004. It was a secret report that was originally buried by the government. Remember, this is the George W. Bush administration, but eventually was released. And this document predicted that abrupt climate change could bring the planet to the edge of anarchy as countries develop a nuclear threat to defend and secure dwindling food, water, and energy supplies. The threat to global stability vastly eclipses that of terrorism, they said. They were saying this in 2004. Like the immediate aftermath of Iraq, and we just did Afghanistan. They're saying then it's gonna be way worse than global terrorism. They say disruption and conflict will be endemic features of life. Once again, warfare would define human life. That's what the Pentagon said in the George W. Bush administration. We have had 2 decades since then to prepare for it. And now the best we've got is fanciful tales of how electric trucks are gonna have to drag wagons behind them. Any other thoughts?
I really see the whole Mad Max saga being our future, bombing each other away, trying to get to resources, and also eliminating those resources in the process of attacking each other. It's like we just do not have that universal thought of common sense where we should all be working together, but instead we continue to push the us and them narrative. And of course, it'll be billionaires at the top and the rest of us fighting among each other at the bottom. Yet so many of us still wish we were billionaires, as you noted before. It's gonna be complete and total chaos.
It's absolute madness. Yeah, and like I've been saying, I know a lot of people have acknowledged this for a long time, but like Like, there have been disasters that have struck America, that have struck other civilizations. They're often quite surprising. This one, we have been warned over and over and over and over. There's a heat dome affecting half of the US population right now. Horrendous heat. You can't go outside without being reminded of how bad this is. And yet we just plow forward. They will stand at a Trump rally, some of them fainting away from the heat to hear him talk about how climate change is fake. They're fanning their relatives, trying desperately to bring them back to consciousness as they laugh about how climate change has been exaggerated. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?